Attorney General informs that he will not represent the acting IGP in the Gihan Pilapitia case. Central Mail Exchange on strike. 12 T-56 rifles found in Homagama.
Hello there, very good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst team. I'm Martin Satyanesan, starting off with a look at your lead story for this afternoon. 12 T-56 weapons were found inside a house in Pitipana, Homagama. The police said that the Special Task Force stated that the weapons discovered belonged to an accomplice of the organized crime gang member Koskoda Tharaka. The weapons were found based on a tip-off received by the STF. In more local news, Attorney General W. D. Livera has stated that he will not represent the acting IGP in the writ petition filed by Judge Gihan Pilapitia.
The Attorney General's department said the Attorney General has decided to refrain from appearing on behalf of the acting IGP as he does not act based on the advice from the Attorney General. The petition filed at the Court of Appeal by former Supreme Court Judge Gihan Pilapitia challenging the decision to name him as a suspect in a case filed against Nugegoda Magistrates Court. Additional Solicitor General appearing for the Attorney General, Malinda Gunathilaka, producing facts informed courts that he will appear for the acting IGP. The Additional Solicitor General informed court that the acting IGP had failed to act in accordance with the instructions given by the Attorney General. The Court of Appeal Judge AHMD Nawash and Rohit Rajakarna directed the respondents to file before the court on the 31st of July if there are objections to the writ petition.
Workers attached to the Ceylon Ports General Employees Union have distributed leaflets opposite the Sri Lanka Ports Authority premises.
The leaflets were distributed objecting the decision to sell the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port to India. A correspondent said the leaflets were distributed to all the staff attached to the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, covering all entry doors to the premises.
The East Terminal is the heart of the Colombo port. During the previous government, 3 gantry cranes were imported from Jaya Container Terminal. On the 20th of this month, the gantry cranes arrived to Sri Lanka Ports Authority. We see that this organization is heading towards privatization. The Director Board has decided that 3 gantry cranes to the East Terminal. We are telling the government to immediately stop the kneeling down to the international powers. The government should immediately make a decision to prevent giving the East Terminal to India. In one of your headline-making stories, the group of employees of the Central Mail Exchange have staged a strike action. The strike is staged as the sealed ballot packets for the postal votes of the general election was not provided to the Central Mail Exchange. Postal and Telecommunications Officers Association General Secretary Mr. Karyavasam said that the strike commenced from 12 midnight yesterday. Mainly the sealed ballot paper packets of the general election has happened through the Central Mail Exchange. Employees of the Central Mail Exchange expressed their unhappiness towards the transfer of the sealed ballot papers to the Havelock Town Office. Even though we requested them to continue operations as usual, however, since they did not heed to our requests, all the employees of the Central Mail Exchange started this token strike as at midnight yesterday. Meanwhile, police stated that 1,280 people who had not worn face masks in public places in the Western Province were strictly advised yesterday.
Operations were carried out island-wide yesterday in search of people travelling in public places without face masks. Police spokesperson SSP Jolly Senaratna stated such operations will be carried out this week.
Schools and Sunday schools, which were closed due to COVID-19 pandemic, reopened today. Schools were only reopened for principals, teachers and non-academic staff.
The schools which were closed on the 13th of March due to the coronavirus commenced today after 107 days under 4 stages. Principals, teachers and all non-academic staff reported to work today. The government has decided to start schools today in accordance with the guidelines laid down by the health sector. Accordingly, arrangements will be made in the next week to commence studies according to health guidelines. Secretary of the Ministry of Education stated that classrooms will adhere to social distancing measures. Schools will be transformed into safe health premises with the installment of hand sanitizing facilities during this week. According to the recommendations of the Ministry of Education, all academic and non-academic staff of leading schools in Colombo reported to work today. This is how schools in the southern province reopened under the first phase.
There was no hindrance to studies. Studies were carried out with online classes. I thank the teachers.
Meanwhile, Minister of Education Dallas Salahapirma inspected the Malbe Boys College today.
Today, the first stage of bringing our children back to school 28 days after holidays started. After months, on the first Monday of July, school bells will be heard throughout the country. The country is secure. However, we can't take advantage of its security.
Sri Lanka's election headquarters, where key political movers and shakers are seen and heard, where party stalwarts and fresh faces are equal, where statements are made. And leadership emerges, where partnerships are established and destinies decided. Only News First. Sri Lanka's election headquarters. News First.
Here are some of the views expressed in the political sphere leading up to the general election on the 5th of August.
Millennium Talent Corporation two agreements were signed for the MCC. Now Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the government should say what they are doing. Now the UNP is divided. One part is Ravi and there is another part that is a disconnected telephone. When we call it, it says that the number is unreachable and to call back later.
Why do
they appoint committees and obtain advice? Close the office in Vallavatta. I'm asking the president to announce that the agreement is cancelled. If you can't do it, let the UNP do so. The government is dreaming of a two-thirds majority. After the 5th of August, the country will be destroyed.
ආණ්ඩුවේ තුනෙන් දෙක ගන්න හීන දකින්නවා අගෝස්තු 5න් පස්සේ මේ රට ඉවරයි ඈවරයි දෑවරයි තුන් ඈවරයි කලින් එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මෛත්‍රී
What do you call the agreement that was signed by Ranil Wickremesinghe and Maithripala Sirisena? It is called the MCC. What do you call the agreement that was signed by this group? That is also called the MCC. All they need is a new wrapping. If all else fails, they will claim that vaccines are needed for the children and bring it through that.
In more news from the political sphere, the leader of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Sajid Premadasa, took part in several election meetings in the Piliyandala and Kasbav areas yesterday.
I state with responsibly that if the Samagi Jana Balawegaya wins this election, we will tear the MCC agreement. I do not have two faces like the government. We are aware that the telephone will win this election with a majority number of seats. The government values $480 million, more than 6.9 million people.
We want a clean parliament. We want a clean government. Think before you vote.
In a COVID update for this afternoon, the total COVID-19 cases in the island has increased to 2,037, with 4 more cases being identified yesterday. The Government Information Department said that 3 of the identified cases have arrived from India and Pakistan. The total number of recoveries in the island has increased to 1,661, with 20 more individuals being discharged yesterday. Meanwhile, President Media Division said the curfew, which imposed on the 20th of March, has completely been lifted as at last night. In some tragic news, a couple had fallen into the Seruella in Lanka during a wedding pre-shoot.
People were to get married on the 27th next month and had arrived at the Seruella for their wedding pre-shoot. Both of them had fallen into the waterfall. The female had been rescued while the male is still missing. The missing person is a 27-year-old.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has decided to introduce a credit guarantee and interest relief loan scheme for businesses affected by Corona.
The decision was taken at the Central Bank's Monetary Board meeting on June 26, 2020. The loan scheme is to be implemented from July 1, 2020.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Lunchtime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Martin Satyanis, and for details of the stories and much more, simply log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. Have yourself a wonderful afternoon.